Okay, so to here. Ta-da. Okay, so what we're doing today is we are covering chapter 5, which is basically just giving us different ideas, teaching ideas for movement education, trying to tie in everything, all the different new current technology that's been coming out, just keeping the classrooms up to date. So the objective for chapter 5 is to just give you different ideas on how to, like I said, integrate modern technology into the physical education classes. It gives different examples of tools and equipment so you can use during the lesson, and also how it can tie in the other subjects from like the students have to normally go through, like math, science, literature, art, music, just the different school subjects they normally have to do. So the first thing that tool that you could use list is pocket charts and word cards. So pocket charts, if we think back to, I remember them from elementary. But if you think back, they're the large boards that have like the little clear pockets in it that you can stick different cards in with like pictures. I remember for conduct in elementary, little elementary, um, they'd have, that's what they would use. You'd have your green, yellow, red for how good you'd be, and you would have to go pull your card. You could use these pocket charts to have different words in curriculum. It goes with both visual and manipulative approaches because they can see everything. They help to reinforce the cognitive content of almost any subject matter. Like I was saying, you got your conduct. I remember seeing days of the week in them, but so but I never really saw them in physical education in the PE classes. So this is something we might could start putting into the physical education classes with our movement concepts that we're going over. And see, this is just a couple of pictures of them here. I couldn't really find any on with actual physical education classes, but I was able to find the examples of the pocket charts. So the word cards that go in them, you can order separately. The packets of the word cards are really relatively cheap. Like I've said, you can have pictures, words, or descriptions in them. You can go to specialized websites for teachers, and they should have physical already decks already made that has our movement concepts and stuff for physical education, or you can get blank ones and you can just make them yourself, which getting the ones that's already made might be easier, but if you got the blank ones, you could really settle down onto one topic or one subject matter that you are trying to make. And for teachers who are not specialized physical education teachers, this could be a way to help just classroom teachers be able to give the information in a way that they're already familiar with, because they're going to use these for all their other little stuff they got. What do you? It's my cat. I'm sorry. Um, we also got word walls. You know, if you go to through elementary schools, even middle schools, I think I remember seeing some. They have words and stuff all over the walls, kind of decorative, real bright. Um, they're usually word walls are usually used to reinforce your vocabulary words, assist with spelling because you'd see the big giant word there and you see how it's spelled, or they'll emphasize a story that the teacher may be reading to the students in class. For physical education, they normally focus on the motivational aspects. Um, but word wall poster sets, I've said, they're colorful way to deliver the content to students on the gym wall. That kind of also can make the place kind of look a little more happy rather than just a blank plain colored wall. So here's an example of the word wall. You got your ABCs here with different words with physical activities like active, activity, aerobic, and B, we got bend, balance, see, catch, just different words along the word wall. Then here it looks like it's actually in a gym. You got your workout, active, respect, sportsmanship, balance, things that we usually want to work on and promote during physical education, fitness. So another idea we could have is movement learning center. I remember a lot of this is elementary. I remember this from elementary school, but they'd have little places in the classroom with different things for certain subjects. And I never really thought about it. I just thought that was how classrooms are. But they're like little learning centers where students can go and actively put their hands on stuff rather than just sitting at a desk the entire time with somebody telling you to. You can get your hands on it and they're able to learn that way. So, but a learning center, it's just a physical space with items that enhance the opportunity to learn a particular subject or concept. They're not normally as popular in the gym. So, but having a movement learning center could help what they're learning in the gym and everything could create a more seamless way. Um, so whether it's taught by a specialist or classroom teacher, um, a classroom learning center for movement um, can create a space they can learn about movement without having to rely on a movement teacher. So it's like I remember in elementary school, we only got to go to PE. I want to say it was like once a week. And so that's not really enough time for them. But if they had a movement center in a classroom, that's a lot more time they could actually be able to go in and learn about movement. And then when they come back to us in the gym, it helps them recall the information and retain everything a little bit better. So the centers in the classroom can also give really active, like I want ADHD or just real hyper kids or the kid kinesthetic learners a strong sense of relief and belonging because they don't want to be sitting at a desk the entire. They want to get up and they want to move. That's how they learn. Like I know I learn by hands-on things. I don't retain a lot of information just reading something. But if I get up, do it myself, I'm able to learn a lot better. And this movement learning center is actually a good way to help get them up. So in the center, you can include the pocket charts with the movement concept decks. Um, you could also include move move cubes. So move cubes just have different things to do on them. It's just a little cube, kind of like the 12-sided it's your move dice. You just kind of roll it through and they'll tell you different movements. They're able to do it. Well, that kind of gives them an excitement. Um, at a university level, it could help physical education majors or minors by having a way to emphasize the literacy in physical education, the actual words and everything, terms that are used. So, gymnasium learning centers would also be a good thing. Although the space in the gyms are usually hard to get because everybody's wanting in there all the time. So sometimes it would be hard to create a learning center in the gym that you don't have to tear down, put up all the time. So if you get the classroom teachers and the children involved with creating and maintaining the space, it'd help get them more excited about it, and they would have a lot more interest in what's actually going on in that learning center. There's several different ways you might could try to be able to find a spot. You got the physical education office, which I don't remember there actually being an office for physical education, but I was also a student, so it may have just been somewhere I didn't see. Small area of the second floor gym, which not all schools are able to have the funding for a second floor gym. An oddly shaped corner, exit or entry. I can picture some of those in my mind. It's just a real awkward spot that nobody really uses going in or out of, just very rarely, or even part of the equipment room. Although the equipment rooms sometimes are usually small and loaded down, packed with equipment. So that one might not be able to. But then again, if you have a large enough area, you could convert a small corner of it into a movement learning center. So in large classes, having one in the gym would be beneficial because if you have very large classes, it'd be hard to contain everybody during a lesson and keep them doing what they need to be doing. You could put them on a rotation, have some of the students in the learning center while the others participate in the main lesson. And then after a certain amount of time, have them rotate. The ones that were in there in the learning center can come out, participate in the main lesson. Ones in main lesson can go to the learning center. It also can give people who are unable to participate due to recent injuries or illness a way to still be included. That way, they're not just sitting down the entire class period, not doing anything. They're able to go into the learning center and actually still be able to do some small things where they're still learning what we are trying to get them to learn. So the materials for enhancing movement education lessons. These are just some small little tools that could help you move along your lesson. Like I was saying with the movement learning center, you could have it on a timer or rotation basis. They have these specialized time music interval CDs. So they have a bunch of usually about 6 different times to go through. If I can find in my notes where I wrote there. So they usually got about 6 paired time intervals. So they'll usually have a 30 seconds of music to 15 seconds of silence. And you also have 30 seconds music to 30 seconds of silence. Then 1 minute music to 15 seconds of silence. 2 minutes of music to 15 seconds of silence. 3 minutes of music to 15 seconds of silence, and 3 minute music to 30 seconds of silence. You could use these. Of course, that may not be enough time depending on what you're doing, but if you have them in multiple stations where they can only spend a handful of minutes in each station, this would be a good way to have it timed rather than you sitting there with a stopwatch. Have the CD going and let it do the timing for you. That way you can actually interact and engage with the students and help them kind of guide to the area that you're trying to guide them to, what you're trying to get them to learn. Another thing is movement beach balls. Just a beach ball with some movement terms. And one of the games that I saw was like, I remember this giant parachute. And you would throw it up, and I remember trying to run through it before it came back down or something. You could use these beach balls with those parachutes. Have the student toss the beach ball, and whatever movement they see, then that's what they could do. They could skip, hop, jump, run, walk, sit, or you could have them just kind of in a circle holding the parachute, but not let the parachute touch the ground and kind of work as a team. Just different ideas to go through. So you could also have these soft floor disc or jellyfish. I couldn't really find an example of what the book was talking about. The only thing I could find were the soft poly spots, which it said it could be used for the same purpose. So these can have little directions you put on them in the center for students to follow. They could also be used as organizers when teaching them space, kind of self-spacing how targets when you're balancing, jumping, leaping, just a lot of different things. And we got some examples. You got your beach ball with a bunch of different things. Of course, they call it the crazy ball, whether it's just a name. And then you got the poly dots, usually come in multiple colors. They usually pretty cheap, not a lot. So we also have pedometers, which pedometers are usually pretty cheap. So even um, schools with tight budgets are able to get them. So you can get the students to compare their steps of different activities, walking, running, leaping. And you can have them record that over a couple different days. And then you can have them graph and show on a chart of what actually gets the most steps, and show them how when you're walking, your feet's always touching the ground. You're going to get more steps versus running and leaping when your feet could be in midair at times and you're not actually stepping for all that distance. This also helps them to encourage and attract fitness. It also helps them to keep up with their fitness, to track what they're doing. I always hear to record what you're doing during a workout, keep up with everything. If we're getting them to, if we start, go ahead, get them to track what they're doing. For what little kids, they'll think it's awesome. And it starts them off at a young age or whatever age to, okay, let me see what I'm doing. Let me keep up with what I'm doing. It's just a way to try to encourage them to keep doing it. So maybe as they get older and continue to keep doing it, we might start having a healthier generation of students. So we also have the integrating different subject matters into movement. So like I was saying with the pedometers, they could keep up with everything and chart, maybe even make it into a graph. That could kind of tie in a math lesson. So The classroom educators should be basic movement educators. That just the teachers that teach the regular subjects should know the basics about movement. And us as physical education educators, we should have a basic understanding of the other content areas. That way we could kind of help guide the students down the right path and learning what they need to be learning in all areas, not just we focus on ours and it's the other teacher's deal problem to learn, teach them the other ones. We all need to be working together for the benefit of the students in order to progress them where they need to be going. So literacy and movement, we could kind of get with the teachers and the words they're using during classroom activities, like your spelling and vocabulary words. We can get them and we could place them in the pocket charts and get them to the ones that are involved with movement, get them, put them in the pocket chart and have them do the movement draw before or after. You could even do it both times. When they do the movement first, it'll help show them, and their drawings would even be a little bit different than if they did it before. So if you did it both times, draw before, get them to do the movement, and draw it again after, you could see how their drawings may have changed in relation to them actually moving. Because when we're just reading or hearing about how to do something, it may feel different when we're actually doing it versus whenever we first heard about it. So you also writing and drawing in response to movement education lesson. You could have a child write about how they felt during the lesson. Did they feel happy? Did they feel excited? Just their feelings during the lesson. And that could help enhance the movement aspect. And it also could help increase their writing skills. And if we start using different words, that also will help increase their vocabulary words. So movement phrases. Could have the students create phrases about one or more of the movement concepts that like they do in the classroom. Because in the classroom, they have phrases they have to make. So each phrase should have a beginning, middle, and an end, just like a sentence would. And that'll help kind of get their minds thinking about everything, helps them retain the information a little bit better. So a movement, story, poem, or a rhyme. So if we get them to create the stories, that is another way to incorporate literacy with the movement. So we can also have them read stories or poems. And as or after we've read it to them, they've read it silently. You could get your pocket cards and have them place and they give them place them in a chart of the different movements that happen during a story or poem and place them in order of the different movements as they happened. So math and science, if you remember, I already gave one of the examples of the way you can incorporate your math with the pedometer and the graphing of the stuff. That helps with the math. So you could also get them to create different shapes with their bodies. You get them to actually move and create the different shapes that they are learning or that they already know from math into our education lesson. You could get the dice. You see how many times one or two dice. see how many times that the student should perform a certain movement. Because if you use one, they have to see the dots, count the dots. Use two, they have to add them to both together. That just helps with their addition. You could also do different things, like if you want to get them to subtract the two, have a dice one, dice two, subtract them from each other, see how that goes. Of course, you could come out with negative numbers and then just, okay, don't have them do it. You could have the students do different things for movement elements to represent things in nature. Like as the wind's blowing, you could have them kind of move as if the wind was blowing. Leaves or rain falling, just get them to move as in how they feel the rain or leaves, things would fall. Running water for rivers, could have them kind of move as if they're a flowing river. It's just different ways to get them to think about their other subjects while they are moving in our lessons. Music and art are usually the big ones that seem to come with physical education, because music, you could have instruments or play a CD, come out, and the first thing I usually think of is moving, and music would be dancing. So you could get them to hear the music and dance, and they could kind of keep with the beats. So that's kind of teaching them time and everything in music standing. And then art, hold on, these drums and flutes can make them feel a certain way, like hard. The pounding of a drum, they could correlate that to hard. And what do you, I usually think if I heard hard, I would think of like stomping my foot or hitting something. I would think of hard as in large forces. So that's just another way you can get them to kind of just think about different things. So art can add some fun to a lesson. You could, like I said, this whole time you can be get them to draw different movements. That's a way, that's basically art, them drawing. Um, one example the book gave, I got it here on the PowerPoint, is could be throwing a paint filled balloon at a giant sheet of paper. And that could be hard or soft with your different colors of paint. As in, it's my brother, he's the art major, and they he's been told me before about the different hard or soft colors on the color aspects. And another thing, chalk. Everybody likes chalk. Get them to draw on the sidewalks different what their movements. Just have them draw a different movement or something. Then also as I got here at homework assignment, have them create a collage. Collage is artwork. Get them to do from just about anything. Just make sure they don't tear up their family photos to get it done, but find different things that show the ideas of movement they are learning about in the gymnasium and bring that up. And that's tying in art and music. And that's pretty much the subject matters. And that is all I have for this. So we can go ahead and we will end this here. Thank you and have a nice day.